Hello, and welcome to the Sunshine Study. I'm Dr. Rebecca, and we're here to spread some joy, some wisdom, and some resilience. So I thought today I'd talk about something that I talk a lot to clients about, and they ask me about this spoon theory. I tried to find our cleanest, poshest spoon. And basically, it's a theory that helps a lot of people with managing their energy. And tasks are broken up into numbers of spoons, right? And often people who have to manage their energy very carefully are called spoonies. So I'm a spoonie. Now, the thing about the spoon theory is lots of people have an allocation of spoons that is so big they don't even need to count them. That's what real health and strength does for you. You just go to the shower and you don't have to think about it. You just go out, you just go to work, you do the things you want to do. But what if all of that's very restricted? And I had many periods of time in my 20s and 30s bedbound and housebound. So I got very good at the spoon theory, but I learned a lot of very hard lessons failing in it too. Failing's a very harsh word, but that's what it felt like. So one of the ways to look at this is that healthy people have 1,000 spoons a day to spend on tasks. But people who have to manage their energy carefully have 100. Now, you can already see the disparity. And people who are very, very poorly have 10. And I like to think of them as joules of energy. So if it takes 1 spoon to go to the shower and you've only got 10 spoons, you've only got 9 for the next 20 hours, essentially, maybe 12 hours, 15 hours, however long your day is, or even 6. Then suddenly eating a meal is half a spoon, or opening the front door is 3 spoons, or sitting up for a friend is 4 spoons. And then suddenly it's getting very tight, that the budget is going. So several of my clients have found great help from this, but several have found the issue of how many spoons does that cost? Or, is going out in the car or going to a medical appointment of 10 spoons, or is it 15 spoons and I'm already overdrawn? So it was difficult to quantify. So one of the things that I thought about was that if you thought about money, we're much more familiar with costs of money, aren't we? So again, think about everybody else has £1,000 a week to spend. That'd be something, wouldn't it? But you've got 100. So you have to spend your energy very carefully. And if you allocate a certain amount of money or budget to a task, it's much easier to remember sometimes. So for me, certain things take more energy, certain things take less energy. But I know if I do them all at once, there will be a payback. Now, here's the interesting thing, is I call the payback when you've overspent on your spoons and done too much. Which sounds so basic, doesn't it? But, we all know what that means. Is that sometimes I would overspend and that would mean 3 weeks in bed. It was that difficult. Or get an infection, 5 weeks. Very, very tenuous judgment. So you're making very difficult decisions and you're bearing the consequences. Or sometimes other people do because they want you to come to an event, or there's a wedding to go to, or maybe it's your wedding, or maybe there's a funeral you really feel you have to speak at and say something. But you're so unwell, how on earth do you manage it? Well, I could make hundreds of videos on energy management, but these basic principles are a good start. And they're actually a good start if you're well, because it means you're valuing what you have. And I never, ever want anybody to get to that cliff edge of burnout, mentally, physically, spiritually, or emotionally. So the issue of how you spend your units of energy is very important. So think about your priorities. And in some ways, your priorities ought to be your joy and your health. So the first things to do is look at where you are draining energy and not even knowing it. And there may be some people, some experiences, some things that you do that absolutely feel exhausting. So look at those and try and reduce them or restrict them. Then be aware of the payback. And I think about that in terms of financials. When you're really, really robbed of spoons or jewels or cash, you are in loan shark land. And I made this up with a client, and we thought about the trajectory of credit, isn't there? So there's very nasty loan sharks here. Then there's very high interest credit cards. Then there's perhaps 0% credit cards. Then there's perhaps overdraft that's agreed. Then there's perhaps overdraft with no interest. Then there's perhaps credit union. Then there's perhaps you're in the balance and it's all right. Now, the thing is that a lot of people with ME, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, exhaustive part of other conditions, we're always in blooming loan shark land. It's dreadful. We can't get back out into the credit. So here are a couple of tips that will really help. When you're in loan shark land of exhaustion, illness, flare up, crash, try and stop digging. Try and stop that debt getting any worse. So it's a very complex decision about pushing, but go very, very carefully. Make judgments that will not damage you. That's an important thing. Do not be pressurized. Think calmly and wisely. Weigh things up. And what managing energy really does, it teaches you, is your priorities and what's important. And it tells you to think very, very systematically, very wisely, very strategically. If I do this, what are the likely consequences? So if you're going somewhere and it's a week before Christmas and everybody's got coughs, colds and flu and it's indoors and it's hot and you're tired, your risk of getting a bug is much greater. But if you're going to somebody's back garden for a 20-minute visit in the middle of summer and you've got a sun hat on and you're protected, that's a much lower risk. So can you start to see the differences? Think about the people who are with you. Think about, have you got a seat? What's the plan? All these expenses of spending energy need a meticulous plan that is flexible, but also rigid when you need it to be. So try and get out of debt, energy debt, and sometimes that just means paying it off slowly. It might take weeks or even months or even longer. So just think about it in that term. But when you're making the decisions, think, I do not want to get into debt and trouble. But if I have to just go a little bit overdrawn because it's my best friend's wedding and it's never happened again and I really want to be there, well, then maybe that's worth a couple of days. But think about it in those terms. But I think very few things are worth that expensive payback. Now, here's the interesting thing. To prevent tripping into that level of trouble and to protect your spoons, think about having rest beforehand, because rest before an event is often much better investment than paying back the interest afterwards. These are just very small tactics, but can have a very profound effect. And I was very sick for more than 20 years. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of clients. And these methods work calmly, logically, and consistently. Now, here's the last point, is it's really all right to feel frustrated that you don't have enough spoons. I mean, really, because you don't. It's not fair. It's not all right. It's uncomfortable. And it's massively, massively sad when you can't do what you want to do. But if you think about this, it's happening at the moment. And you were likely to have had some healthy life before this hit you, or you had to even know about spoons. So think about how long you were well and could do things and how fortunate you were. So if you think about this as a period, a season in your life, and that if you were well before, it's possible that things can stabilize and even improve. And of course, we want the magic thing that'll make everything all right quickly and we'll go back to rock climbing and running and normal life. But if you could go back to just some normal life, just some good days, not feeling terribly unwell, with the management skills that you've got, you become not only an excellent manager of your energy, you become a leader in your own life and an example to other people. Now that may take some effort. You may have to learn to say no to more things than you want to. You may have to learn to be super gracious when other people are lapping you and doing better than you. You have to be pleased for their progress, but also you have to be able to feel the feelings of disappointment, because when you're managing energy, there's a lot of spoon dropping, especially at the start as you're learning. But then suddenly you might think, well, I could have a shower 3 times a week and I'm quite a clean person. And then maybe on those other days, I could use my shower allowance of energy to this. And you can also put things in a hierarchy of what takes a lot of energy, what takes a medium amount of energy, and what takes a small amount. And sometimes think about gathering a few more spoons in. I don't know why I whispered that, but I just felt you could borrow some spoons from, kind source. But what you really want to do is sometimes you might go from having an allowance of 10 spoons a day to 12 with careful management and not even notice it. But your payback may be less frequent, it may be less vicious, or it may not be there at all. So managing energy is an art form, but I believe you are very clever, very capable and courageous. And that's all that's needed for learning something this difficult easily, because I'm sure you can do it. So I had 3 spoons. I'm just going to show you them. What are them's a bit grubby, needs to go back in. But think about a spoon as your friend and what it does for you and how powerful it can be. So we mustn't waste it. We must take care of it, cherish it, keep it clean, not exhaust it, not bend it out of shape, not put too much pressure on it, but just hold it and be glad for it and use it wisely. And here's the lovely point. If it all goes wrong, there might be a new allocation of spoons tomorrow. Remember that. Do not berate yourself. You're doing far better than you think, feel, or even know. Because if you're having to think about energy management or health management or spoons, that takes a lot. So you have my admiration, my respect, and my great support. And I hope some joy. I think the dog's barking. I think I better go. So take care, my friends. God bless. Be safe. Please like, comment, subscribe. It's joyous to be with you. And remember, seek the light and be the light.